This is an open letter to SDS. I want to talk about what you can do to improve your game for MLB The Show 22, in addition to the game of something that's not currently in the game that will significantly make the game better for all the players, and I think it'll help your bottom line as well. This is something that I've seen some people talk about on Twitter that they want in the game. So I know I'm not alone, and this would be a team build mode. That would be a fourth mode where you can play against online opponents. Now let me explain exactly what I mean. So you would go into the game and you would see a screen such as this, and then you would choose the team you like the best or the team you want to play that particular game with. Then you'd be sent to a screen like this where you can choose all the players you want, but you can only choose players from that specific team that you just chose. Then you press start and you're matched up with another person who has done the exact same thing with whatever team and players they chose. So this would be a fourth way to play against online opponents. You have ranked, battle royale, events, and then you would have team build mode. Now let me tell you the reasons why this would be so beneficial for the players and for SDS. This is like an untapped oil well that is sitting right in front of your face. You would be tapping into the fanhood that people have for their specific favorite team. Now, you're already tapping into the fanhood that people have towards specific players, and that's great, and that helps the game, and it helps people enjoy the game. However, for me personally, I am more of a fan of the Padres than I am of any specific player. Sure, I love Tony Gwynn, I love Fernando Tatis Jr., but I'm more of a fan of the Padres. Players come and go, but the Padres will always be there. I think that is a much stronger drive for players of this game than any specific player. And if you make a team build mode, you are tapping into that pre-existing fanhood that exists in most of the people that play this game. Secondly, as good or even a better reason to do this team build mode, you would make so many more cards in the game relevant by making a team build mode. Now let me explain what I mean. You only have about, I would estimate, 75 cards currently as of beginning of December when I'm making this video that are relevant in the game. So that would be about 35 batters and about 40 pitchers. These are cards that you're going to see on rotation in ranked seasons. But other than that, you're not going to see very many other cards besides those basic 75 cards. Now this makes many cards in the game irrelevant, such as some of these daily moment rewards. This Reggie Jackson card, it's sort of irrelevant because there's much better outfielders. This Gary Sheffield card was relevant for about a week or two, but is now irrelevant. Zach Britton card is still relevant, I think. This Pablo Sandoval card is irrelevant now. McCutcheon is irrelevant. These two cards are also irrelevant. Most of the cards you've released in the game are now irrelevant, and some of the cards that you release are irrelevant as soon as you release them. Like this Jim Thome card was irrelevant as soon as you released him because there's much better first baseman. This is not a bad card by any means. It's just there's much better first baseman in the game. And another example, these flashbacks and legends cards, these were released in the Team 2 and Team 3 Team Affinity rewards program, but they were irrelevant as soon as you release them. Nobody ever plays with these cards. So the good thing about team build is if you had a team build mode, all of these cards would be relevant. All of these cards would be used on team build mode. Because think about it, you have about 75 cards that are relevant as the game is now, but if you have a team build mode, you will have 26 players for each team times 30 teams. That's 780 cards that would be relevant in the game if the game had team build mode. That's 10 times as many cards that are relevant in the game. That's much more variety, and you will now be able to use these cards and have fun with these cards and not feel like you're overmatched by somebody's all-star team on ranked season. You'll be able to use George Foster and Tyler O'Neill and Jonathan Lucroy and All these guys will now be relevant, and this creates much more variety in the game, which makes it funner. Can you imagine if in real life, one All-Star game every year, and it's cool. But can you imagine if they said, we're not going to play one All-Star game, we're going to play an entire season of All-Star game and no regular season, just 162 All-Star games. That would get old very, very quickly. I think after a few of those games, you would say, I'm tired of seeing Tatis face Ohtani. I'm tired of seeing all these same guys over and over and over again. I don't want to see this anymore. And that's sort of the feel of ranked seasons sometimes. I still like it, but I think it would be better if there was more variety, but there isn't because you can't be competitive with cards like this. But if there was a team build mode, you would be forced to use a variety of players because you couldn't use an all-star team. You would have to use only players from one specific team, and you're playing against players that are only using cards from one specific team. And when you have variety like that, it's going to increase interest. You're not going to get bored as fast. This would help you in that when you release cards like this, or other cards in the player programs, or in headliners, or what have you, you will not run the risk of people saying L on your Twitter account because they think this card's stupid. This card is unusable. He's not as good as the best outfielders in the game right now. So why would I even care? L. And I think those people are being a little harsh, but I think they also have a point because those cards are basically useless. But if you had a team build mode, then people wouldn't really say that, I don't think, because you can use a George Foster on the Reds team build mode or a Tyler O'Neill on the Cardinals team build mode. At the time these cards were released, now there's better versions, but when they were released, you definitely would have used a Tyler O'Neill 85 diamond on a Cardinals team build, and you would have been very happy about it if you were a Cardinals fan. So this will make the releases you already make more popular and more appreciated, but it will also allow you to release many more cards. You could release more prospect cards. You could release players that are already in the game, but release them for all the teams they played with, such as, for example, Nolan Ryan. You could have released an Astros version for him this year, or a Mets rookie version for him this year. And both those cards, if you release them now, people would say, what's the point? These aren't even his best version. But if you release them in a game where you had a team build mode, both of those cards, the Astros version and the Mets version of Nolan Ryan, would both be usable. Same with Goose Gossage. He played for many teams. Lee Smith, Gary Sheffield, Fred McGriff, Joe Carter. All these guys played for multiple teams, and you could release multiple versions of these players. And here's another benefit. You can sign players into the game that were former players that were just average or good players, not even superstars. Because if you sign those guys into the game now, as the game is now, people are going to say, this is another Enos Slaughter. I'm never going to play with this card. This is an L. Nobody's going to care about it. But if you release, let's say, for example, an Andy Van Slyke for the Pirates, he was an outfielder for anybody who doesn't know. If you released him into the game now, everybody would say, I don't care about this card. He's not good enough to play on ranked seasons, and they'd be right. If you had a team build mode, you could play Andy Van Slyke on the Pirates, and you would be very happy about it. And for me, if you released any former Padres, I would love it even if they were just an average player. If you released Terry Kennedy or Steve Garvey or Andy Ashby, Sterling Hitchcock, Phil Nevin, Phil Plantier. I would love any of those cards. I'd be so happy and want to use them on the team build. I loved it when you released Gary Sheffield and Fred McGriff Padre versions into the game this year. And I didn't really play with them on ranked because they weren't good enough to play on ranked. But I did play with them some on Conquest, and I had fun playing with them, and I would have a lot more fun if I played with them on a team build mode against online opponents. So if you do a team build mode, please release those two cards again, because those are two of my favorite Padres of all time, Gary Sheffield and Fred McGriff. But I think any fan of any team will appreciate any cards you release of players from that team. How many average and good former Major League players are there for each team? Hundreds, if not thousands. There's a huge pool of untapped players that you haven't brought into the game, probably because you know nobody will care about them as the game is right now, because those players won't be competitive on ranked. And I imagine those players would not cost as much as these Hall of Famers. You know, you have Derek Jeter out there that everybody wants in the game, but I'm sure the rights to use his likeness is quite expensive. But compare him to just average or good players. I mean, I heard Dontrelle Willis for the Marlins. He basically said that he would allow you to use his likeness for free in this game. And he had a very cool windup. He was a cool player. If you brought him into the game, Marlins fans would love it. And he would be a fun pitcher to use or to hit against. And there's hundreds of players like that who would be fun to play with for fans of that specific team. Even if you aren't a fan of that specific team, I would love to play with Dontrelle Willis or Andy Van Slyke. So this would allow much more variety in the game, and you're tapping in on the pre-existing fanhood that players of this game have towards whatever their favorite team is. This would also help SDS because you would dramatically be increasing collections. Let's say you had a season of team build, just like you do on ranked seasons. You have a season of team build. You have, let's say, 10 seasons of team build mode, month long each or so. And you release a card for each team on let's say, an event style reward path for each team. If you get 5 or 10 wins, you get the special card of that season. So I would get a Phil Nevin card for the Padres if I get 5 wins with the Padres in this specific team build season. And every team has a specific card, a player from their team that they would get if they get 5 or 10 wins or whatever. So that's 30 cards every season. That's 300 new cards into the game. That would dramatically increase variety, but also dramatically increase collections. Now it takes you longer to complete the collections. You're going to be playing for longer. Because as it was right now, it took me a very short time to complete all the collections after Chipper Jones. And to complete the Team Affinity Season 5, it took me only a few days. Maybe even if you want to make these Team Affinity rewards part of the team build mode instead of just giving them away for nothing. Maybe that would be an option, because that would make it much more difficult to get these cards. You wouldn't get them all at once. You would get them one at a time when you got 5 or 10 wins in that specific team build season. And if somebody doesn't want to play that mode, make all these cards sellable. So you can, if you don't want to grind it or you don't want to play those games, you can buy it on the open market. And so that to me is a way for SDS to make money. Or keep Team Infinity the way it is and just add different cards to team build mode reward paths. Either way would work in my opinion. But a few details on how you can make team build mode the best it could possibly be would be give people the option to do a 162 game season. This would be separate from the reward path or any particular season. This would be outside of that. It would be like just like a record keeping of the 162 games you've played with this specific team on team build mode. That way you can keep track. Okay, I won 100 games in this season. And if you get 100 wins in a season of 162 games, you get some special icon where you made the playoffs, because 100 is kind of like the litmus test for a good team. They win 100 games, you're normally making the playoffs. Or if you get 50 home runs with any of your players in a 162 game season, you get a home run trophy icon, or if you get a batting average over 350, you get a batting champ icon. Give people these specific challenges that allow you to win the kind of awards that you see people winning in real life. And it's not a reward that will help you in the game, but it is like an accomplishment. You don't always have to give awards that will awards that are cards that will help you in the game. You can just give icons like, if you play Zelda and you hold the Triforce over your head when you win, that's like a feeling of accomplishment, even though it doesn't give you anything. It's just like it's like beating the game in a way. So you could add those type of rewards and give people a trophy case where they can see, okay, I got a home run trophy with the Padres. I got the batting title trophy with the Padres. I got the Cy Young Award with the Padres. And by the way, keep all those stats separate in team build mode. So if I'm 20 and 10 with the Padres, show me 20 and 10 on the screen. Don't show me my ranked seasons award. And if I'm batting 350 with Fernando Tatis on team build mode, show me 350 on the screen. Keep those stats separate from stats on ranked and battle royale and events. For those modes, if you want to show me my complete cumulative stats for Fernando Tatis, including the team build mode stats, if you want to show me that on ranked when you have Fernando Tatis walk up to the plate, that's cool. But on team build, only show me my stats with Fernando Tatis on team build mode, because you want to keep the realism as close to real life as possible by showing the real record you have with that team in team build mode, by showing you all the stats you have with those players on team build mode. And you're just making it as real to real life as you possibly can. It really puts you in the game and allows you to enjoy it like you would a real season. And if you get up to 900 rating level, you get a World Series trophy with your team's logo over it, and you can put that in your trophy case. It's just like another trophy you can get. You wouldn't necessarily get a card if you get up to 900 level on team build mode, or you could add a card if you want to also add a card on that mode or not. That's either way would work. And in the team, and one more thing, in the team build reward path, put all the uniforms for that specific team in that team build reward path. Put all the banners, put all the logos, all the stickers, anything with a logo for that team, put in the team build reward path for that specific team, because that's where it makes the most sense. So that's my general suggestion. I have like 10 other suggestions, but this was probably my best one. I think if you did this, you would look back later at prior versions of the game and people would say, how did we have this game without team build mode in it? It would be like thinking about, how did we live without maps on our phone? We had a Thomas Brothers. I think you'll look back on this and say, how do we not have this in the game? I'm so glad it's in the game. Makes the game so much nicer in so many ways. You can play with the team you like. There's much more variety in the game. And SDS, you'll probably like it because I think you'll make more money, because the collections will be bigger and people will be more likely to pay. So I think this is a win-win-win for everybody, and I hope you do it. So thank you, and keep up the good work, and I'll see you on the next video.